Good day to you, Miss Nerissa Guevara. My name is John Christopher R. Obise, and I will summarize the from letter to Luis de Santanagel regarding the First Voyage. It was made by Christopher Columbus at the sea on February 15, 1493. Yes. So, but first of all, I want you to greet a Happy New Year. So, may you enjoy your holiday. So, this letter is talking about Christopher Columbus narrating his success in having a voyage going to the New World. He wants to inform the Spanish king and queen about how successful his voyage is, and he sent it to Luis de Santanagel. Luis de Santanagel was a merchant and a Spanish court official who was the one who supported Christopher Columbus to propose it to the Spanish king and queen to provide him supports in the needs of finance and in everything, so that he could be able to continue his voyage to the New World. So it was Christopher Columbus was narrating about his 33-day voyage going to the going to the West Indies from the Canary Islands, and with the fleet that was carrying hundreds of men's Spanish crew that were all supported and financed by the Spanish king and queen. And they found many islands and innumerable people on the islands that they had discovered. And what is surprising is that these people from the islands did not oppose them. So, because if we are going to trace back the history, their initial reaction is that they must oppose the foreign colonizers, but what they did is that they did not oppose them. So they found the first island and named it San Salvador in remembrance of the Divine Majesty, or the monarchs of the Spanish king and queen. And it is also known as Guanahani for the Indians. And today, the San Salvador Island is not known for them, but many speculators said that it is now known today as the Watling Island. And another island is the Isla de Santa Maria de Concepcion. The third is the Fernandina. The fourth is the Isabela. And the fifth is the Isla Juana. The Isla Juana is the biggest of all the 5 islands. As a matter of fact, they thought that Isla Juana was the mainland, or they even compared it to Kasayo, or the Kasayo is the China because of its large size. And in it, there were neither towns nor villages. They only found hamlets, and in the hamlets there were also no people, because the people fled immediately because of the fear that they might be transformed into slaves by the Spanish colonizers. And so, because of Christopher Columbus' amusement of the fact that he was successful in finding many islands, he managed to go northwards from Isla de Juana. But unfortunately, the climate was not bearing with them because it was winter and it was snowing very hard. So what Christopher Columbus did is that he maneuvered and then he returned to Isla de Juana. So when he already returned to Isla de Juana, he managed to go westwards. And when they went westwards, they found another big island from which they named it Hispaniola. And by the way, the Isla de Juana was now known today as the islands of Jamaica and Haiti. And the island of Hispaniola was now known today as the continent of South America. And another information before, for the Europeans, there were only 3 continents: the Europe, the Asia, and the Africa. And it was considered as the Old World. But Christopher Columbus wants to prove that there is a new world, that he could cross the New World, or what is known today as the Americas, by crossing the Atlantic Ocean from westwards. So he already proved it. And then when they went to the south, he sent 2 men to investigate if there were really great cities or great kings that governed those islands. But when the 2 men came after a 3 days journey, they reported to Christopher Columbus that there were none, there were no cities, and there were no kings. So they managed to continue their voyage to the Hispaniola. And when they went to Hispaniola, almost 107 leagues away from the Isla de Juana, they were really amazed. Much amazement from what they feel when they were amazed from Isla de Juana, because Hispaniola was really blessed with natural resources, and it has many natural resources. It has many metals and minerals in its mountains. The mountains were lush green and were almost touching the sky because of its height. And there were also people, there are harbors, and when there are harbors, it only means that there are civilizations already existed in Hispaniola. So it is already developed. And then the forest is as green as the forest in Spain when it is May. There are birds that sing in nightingale. There are nightingale birds which were nowhere to be found in Europe. There are also honeybees. And when we say honeybees, the people from Europe did not believe that there are honeybees in the early honeybees, because there were no honeybees in Europe. And lastly is that there are cultivatable lands. So when there is cultivatable lands, it means more profit and more prestige to the Spanish Empire, because when they capture it, it will bring so much prestige and and power to them because of the cultivatable lands that could be used in agriculture. So Hispaniola is really a marvel for them. So this is the question I chose. How does the literary text explicitly or allegorically represent various aspects of colonial oppression? This text has many evidences that prove the colonial oppression of the Spanish Empire to the natives of the South America. One evidence is when they gave different names to the islands, such as Isla de Juana, Concepcion. So it is already an oppression, because why would you give a name to the islands that were really not yours? For the first fact, you only captured them, and besides, it is not their island. There are already inhabitants that live in it. So why would you give name? So isn't it a sign of disrespect? So it is already a kind of colonial oppression. And secondly is that when they made the Native American as slaves, so that there is someone who could work with for their empire. So it is already an evidence for the colonial oppression. And lastly is that when they captured the native South American lands and attributed it to the Spanish Empire. So it is really an oppression that the lands of the Native Americans who are freely living in their country were now be transformed into slaves, and their land was now attributed to the Spanish Empire. So that's also Happy New Year again, and thank you.